So if you're showing tonight, be sure and get your back number on. Going to get started here very shortly. We want to thank our Laramie County born and raised beef buckle sponsor, the Laramie County Farm Bureau. Okay. I'll wait to mention them.
So we'll pull for the overall drive, it's champion and reserve. Okay.
Now, do we have categories? I mean, oh. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my extreme pleasure to introduce Lexi Hunt, who is originally from Buckeye, Arizona, where she grew up heavily involved in the livestock industry. Lexi recently obtained a bachelor's degree at Texas Tech University, where she served as a member of the livestock judging team. During her time at Tech, she was named a high individual overall at the Cattlemen's Congress National Western and San Antonio Stock Show. Prior to that, Lexi attended South Plain College, where she was named the #1 junior college All-American, as well as high individual overall at North American. Lexi is looking forward to the opportunity to work with your young people and sort through their stock. What an impressive credential, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome Lexi. All right, our first class with weights ranging from 940 pounds to 1,109 pounds. We have Demi Kriz and Miller Show calves raise that calf. We have Caden Egley with Caden Egley raising that calf. Impressive. Caden Egley again, and Caden Egley raised it. Tatum Thompson from T4 Livestock. Jason Osterman, Schmidt Club Calves. And that will be our first class.
Class 2, if you'd be in the holding area, we have Isabella Osterman, Dylan Vernon, Quincy Sutherland, Adrian Dela Cruz, and Gavin Broda. Class 3, if you'll be getting ready, Kennedy Miller, Dawson Sedman, Keaton Reisdorfer, Lena Rodriguez, Dylan Vernon, and Alice Martins.
Well, good evening. Dead level there out of her hip. We got to open her up in terms of her body shape. We got to make her softer and her heart softer back to her flank line. I think if we do that, it certainly becomes a closer conversation because it's a stout, structured female that's very flexible in the build and use there to her hind leg. She's probably just a shot sounder, actually, than the two steers in terms of the flexibility in the use there to her hind leg. Again, got to open her up, got to make her softer in terms of her body type. Opposite end of the spectrum, young man's heifer that's going to go ahead and land in fourth. Moderate, opened up and bold there in the center portion of her body. Extremely dimensional all the way through. For me, young man, she's probably just a bit more compact off either end of her skeleton. More importantly, bit coarser. Image here. He's actually got a really square and fresh shape working out of the backside of his shoulder and down his top. For me, young man, he's just a little tighter and harder in terms of his body type. A calf that wants to rock forward there in terms of his knee, and a steer that's just too upright and tight and rigid in the way that he utilizes his hind leg in motion. But again, very high quality nonetheless. Practical type of a steer.
Third heat is coming in. These steers range, and heifers, range from 1174 to 1,219 pounds. We have KJ Miller, and Miller Show Calves as the breeder. Quick as she's done talking to Brian. All right, well, we have a slight pause in our action. We'll encourage everybody to attend the FFA Sale of Champions at 7 p.m. on Friday, the 7th, at the Cheyenne Frontier Days headquarters. And don't forget about the Laramie County 4-H Livestock Sale, 9 a.m. right here at the Event Center at Archer. All right, here comes KJ Miller. Second one in the ring, Dawson Sedman. B3 Livestock is the breeder. We have Keaton Reisdorfer. Ferguson Ranch is the breeder. We have Dylan Vernon. And Dylan Vernon is the breeder. And Alice Martins. Guy and Kathy Landers bred that steer.
A nice class and a very good pair of them again, and a really nice class winner to go ahead and kick us off. And the young lady's heifer, she could be dialed back just a shot from a condition standpoint. She's starting to expose herself in terms of her chest and right there around her tail head. But past that, a heifer that, although moderate, comes with some added extension there ahead of her shoulder, backs it with a bold body type, a big pin set here on the profile, reads really flexible there in terms of her angularity, setback in her shoulder and her knee, really flexible there in the build to her hind leg as well. Congratulations to that young lady. From behind the cattle is my favorite view of your steer here in second. He is very fresh and expressive in terms of the muscularity he's got working out of the backside of his shoulder, big and rolled up there over his rib and his loin, and then really square and opened up in his pin set. For me, young lady, I get pickier of him here from the profile. Calf that's just a shot plainer in terms of his look there ahead of his blade. Calf that's just a shot plainer there in terms of his throat latch and his chest. We could elevate his pin set ever so slightly, maybe relax him there specifically on his left rear, but a nice steer nonetheless. The steer that's going to go ahead and land in 3, he's very practical, and he's actually just more moderate in terms of his body type than the steer that's going to go ahead and land here in 4. He gives up in terms of substance, bone work there at the surface relative to the 2 cattle that precede him. Probably doesn't offer just the same kind of look of quality here from the profile, but a smooth made steer that's got a good shape down the top side of him. An expressive and a clean cutting type of a steer that's going to go ahead and land here in 4. He's just a shot bigger there in terms of his frame size. He doesn't accommodate it nearly just as soft and practical in terms of his body type. I thought he was bigger in the shape here to his quarter and muscularity directly behind than the young man's red steer that's going to go ahead and round us out. Calf here in 5 that's going to round us out. It's actually probably just a shot sounder in terms of his structure there at the surface than the steer that's going to precede him. For me, needs more fresh shape and muscularity down its top. Needs to be opened up directly from behind to move up any higher. A good class. Congratulations to those 5.
All right, thank you, Lexi. First place, class number 3, we have Dawson Sedman, and the breeder is B3 Livestock. Second place, Kenneth KJ Miller, breeder Miller Showcase. Again, please keep all first and second place class winners. You're coming back in the ring for the overall. Ready to start class 4. As quick as our ring man is explaining to this young lady what she needs to do. Yeah. I'm going to say this is this young lady's first time in the show ring. Good job, little gal. We have Hazel Meadowcroft. Breeder is Galuzzo Cattle Company. We have Riley West, breeder Miller Show Calves. We have Gavin Broda, breeder. Oh shoot, we have Lane Harless, breeder Guy and Katie Landers. Next is Gavin Broda, breeder Brian Jacobson. Then we have Braden Jacobson, breeder Circle J Cattle Company. And that will be the 5 steers in this class. Oh, and Olivia Love. Olivia Love with TKO Ranch. Sorry, Olivia. Okay.
We should have class 5 in the holding area. Trigg Sedman, Callie Harless, Trigg Sedman, Walter Martins, Riley Vetter, Brooklyn Kopetsky. Class 6, be getting ready. Kennedy Miller, Brant Jacobson, Ethan Breton, and Brianna Hollingsworth. I would like to announce that we are going to have a beef fitting contest on Friday at 12 p.m. Entries are due by 10 a.m. that same day. It's an opportunity for our kiddos to get out in the ring and show their teamwork and fitting skills, their knowledge of the calf that they're working on. The payouts are per age group, and we will be paying out for both first and second places for the teams. So if you're interested, see the flyers around the beef barn and get signed up.
We have a few corrections on this class. Gavin Broda, the breeder was T.C. Berry, and for Braden Jacobson, the breeder was Uncle Pat Jacobson.
A nice class and a highly presented type of a show steer that's going to go ahead and kick us off. And the young man's calf that does not perfect there in terms of his body type, and he's just a little upright in terms of his angularity off either end of his skeleton. He's got a good look up front, very sharp in terms of his throat latch, his chest line. He backs it big and square and fresh in the shape that he's got working directly out of his shoulder. That's his direct advantage versus the calf that's going to go ahead and land here in second. Fresher in his look up front, square and bigger in his spread directly out of his shoulder. This steer, though, may have just the biggest genuine feet and the softest in terms of his structure there at the surface and the way that he takes to the ground here of anything that we've had so far in the ring today. Very sound structured, not nearly as neat and sharp in his look up front. Calf that doesn't square up, which is the same kind of shape, offer the same kind of quality here from the profile, but a good pair nonetheless. I thought there was conversation to be had in between 3 and 4. Probably can stomach terrific. The calf here in third, structure just a little bit better. Aesthetically pleasing. He's just a little bit lower there in terms of his pin set, but he's got more natural flexibility built into his hind leg than the steer that's going to land in fourth in his own right. And that's a big topped and ended type of a calf that's very smooth and practical in terms of his finish. For me, young lady, like I already kind of talked about, he's shorter out of his hip, really wants to get up underneath himself and duck his pin set when he goes in motion. The calf here in four's got a high quality look here from the side, high tying, really sharp and neat in terms of his look there ahead of his blade. For me, young man, his structure's got to be changed. You need to rock him back in terms of his shoulder and his knee. Got to see him move freer in terms of the posture and the use there to his hind leg. A smooth made, deep body type of a steer is going to go ahead and land here in 5. He doesn't offer just the same kind of feature, substance there at the surface or look of quality of the cattle that are going to go ahead and precede him. It's the same story for the young lady that's going to be rounding out our top 6. She's done a very nice job feeding and preparing her steer for the show. Probably not genuinely just as wide or as opened up as some other cattle that preceded him from directly behind. She's doing a great job out here. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
First place in our class number 4 is Riley West, breeder Miller Show Calves. Second place, Gavin Broda, and the breeder was T.C. Berry. Congratulations to those 2 young men. We're about ready for class number 5. There will be 9 classes tonight, ladies and gentlemen, so we are halfway through. Class 5, the weights are going to range from 1,265 pounds to 1,286 pounds. If you did, you used invisible ink. Okay. Now entering the ring is Trig Sedman, breeder B3 Livestock. Then we'll have Callie Harless, breeder Guy and Kathy Landers. Then we have Trig Sedman, breeder B3 Livestock. We have Walter Martins, breeder Guy and Kathy Landers. We have Riley Vetter, breeder Riley Vetter, and Brooklyn Kopetsky, breeder Schmidt Club Calves.
Well, a really nice way to go ahead and kick off this particular class. The young lady steer that does so, he's got a bit of roll and a bow there directly from behind in the build to his hind leg. Past that, a very high quality type of a show calf that's sharp and alert, and his look up front backs it with a beautiful body shape. He's probably got the most bend comfort built into his skeleton of anything that's walked in the ring so far today. Congratulations to that young lady. Steer here that's going to go ahead and land in second, actually compared to the one that precedes him. He's bigger, squarer, and fresher in the shape directly out of his shoulder. Really big and opened up there over his loin and his pin set. For me, young man, he's got to be reconstructed in the way that he's built from behind. Calf that's more rigid and upright there in the build to his hind leg, but has been dialed and presented to the nines for sure. Congratulations to that young man. The steer that's going to land in three, probably a bit more tolerable there in terms of the flexibility and the build to his hind leg, and a very smooth and practical type of a calf. For me, young lady, he's a bit plainer there in terms of his look up front. He doesn't offer just the same kind of bonework, substance, or look of quality as the two steers that are going to go ahead and precede him. But like I said, you got to respect his practicality. Lean made, clean cutting type of a calf that's going to go ahead and land here in fourth, directly behind the cattle. He needs to be bolder in terms of his body shape, bigger in terms of his pin set before he can move up any higher. It's the same story for the steer that's going to go ahead and land here in five. And I can tell you put in a lot of work with your project, young man, because you get out here and you do a great job getting him shown. He's a little bigger in terms of his frame size, needs to be opened up all the way through before he can move up any higher, but you've done a very nice job with your project. Congratulations. Good job and good work to these 5 young people.
First place, Class 5, Riley Vetter, breeder Riley Vetter. Second place, B3 Livestock was a breeder for Trigg Sedman. Congratulations on our first 2 again. Ready for Class 6. We have KJ Miller coming in with Miller Show Calves being the breeder. We have Brant Jacobson, Circle J Cattle Company. We have Ethan Breton. Breeder is Brianna Hollingsworth. Then we have Brianna Hollingsworth, breeder Brianna Hollingsworth. These steers range from 1,296 pounds to 1,318 pounds. While Lexi is making her decision, we want to, again, be sure and thank Laramie County Farm Bureau, who donated the buckle to our champion born and raised.
A good class, a nice steer to go ahead and lead us off again, and he does so because he's better in terms of his balance here from the profile that's in the steer that's going to sit in second. More importantly, he's just more tolerable in the build, the flexibility, and the reach that he's got built into his hind leg than the steer that's going to go ahead and land in second. Not perfect in the way that he ties up front, not perfect there in terms of his underlying quality, but again, a bold-bodied, thick-ended type of a calf that's still really flexible in the way that he goes there from behind. So the steer that's going to go ahead and land here in two, actually higher tying, just a bit neater in terms of his extension up front. For me, young man, a steer that's just a shot plainer there in terms of his chest. More importantly, he wants to deviate behind his blade. He's got to be freed up in terms of his hock and his rear pastern before he moves up any higher. Done a very nice job with your steer, and you show him really, really good out here. Young man here in third, you've got a big-footed, stout structure and a very flexible type of a steer. For me, he needs more shape and spread directly out of his shoulder. Got to open him up in his pin set, amp him up in his muscularity from behind before he moves up any higher. Again, I can tell you spent a lot of time at home with him, though, because you've done a great job showing him here at the Laramie County Fair. Young lady that's going to go ahead and land in fourth has got a lean, made, clean cutting type of a steer. For me, just a little fragile and petite there in terms of his bone work and his substance at the surface. Doesn't offer just the same kind of quality as the two cattle at the top end, and maybe not just as stout there at the surface as the steer that's going to go ahead and precede him, but very smooth in his overall image. Congratulations to those four.
First place, Class 6, KJ Miller, breeder Miller Show Calves. Second place, Brant Jacobson, breeder Circle J Livestock. And that will bring us to class number 7. We should have Hunter Miller, breeder Miller Show Calves. We have Grace Berry, breeder Pat Jacobson. We have Grace Bays, breeder De La Cruz Livestock. Brianna Hollingsworth, breeder Brianna Hollingsworth. Hunter Miller, yet again, breeder Miller Show Calves. And Braden Jacobson, breeder Pat Jacobson. Yeah. These steers will range from 1,122 pounds, or 1,322 to 1,381 pounds. And Riley West coming in, showing one of Hunter's steers. After looking this class over, I can truly tell you I'm glad that Lexi is making the decision.
Well, you might look at it differently if you saw him at the Boston.
Well, an interesting class, and I think trade-off specifically here between the pair of cattle that we lead off with and the steer that wins. He was not blessed with the same kind of hair coat as the steer that sits directly behind him. I'm genuinely going to call him better, though, in terms of his body cavity. I'm genuinely going to call him better in terms of his skeleton. He may be the biggest footed and just genuinely the stoutest in terms of his bone work of any calf that's came in the ring so far today, yet very sound and comfortable in the way that he hits the surface. Calf that's still got a big square spread working out of the backside of his shoulder. He's got some extra leather up front. I'm not calling him just the neatest looking thing I've ever seen, but like I said, he maintains his top line, his hind leg better in motion than the steer that's going to land here in second. Calf in second, high quality in terms of his image. He's got a dense hair coat, stout structure type of a steer that alludes to a lot of quality. For me, young lady, when he goes in motion, he wants to roll up there in terms of his spine and his loin, a steer that naturally just hits the surface a bit harder there in terms of his hind leg posture and his rear pastern. We could free that calf up from behind, maybe drop him ever so slightly in terms of his body type. I don't think that it would be much of a competition because he's done a very nice job managing that steer up until this point. And again, very high quality in terms of his image. Good looking type of a calf that's going to go ahead and land here in three, high tying, really extended there ahead of his blade. He actually backs it with a really expressive shape directly out of his his shoulder and down his top. For me, his structure from behind needs to be altered for him to move up any higher. Calf that's off in his rear foot shape wants to roll, yet hit his hind leg just a shot harder there from behind. He's got more natural flex. He can move on. A smooth made, good body type of a calf that's going to go ahead and land here in 4. For me, he's probably just the most generic there in terms of his bone work. Calf that's a bit plainer here in terms of his image from the profile. But again, I respect his practicality a good deal. Calf that's going to go ahead and land here and round out our top 5. Done a nice job managing him, young lady. He's got a nice hair coat, bold body type of a calf with a big spread down the top side of it. For me, his build from behind, just a little shorter and rounder there in the pitch to his hip, yet still wants to get up underneath himself and just a shout rigid there in terms of his hind leg as well. Steer that's going to go ahead and round out our top 6 is actually a wide constructed, big topped and ended type of a calf. For me, young lady, when he goes in motion, he wants to deviate there in terms of his top line, specifically over his loin. Calf that's just too upright in terms of his angularity off either end. A really good class and fun to sort through. Congratulations to these exhibitors.
First place in class number 7 is Hunter Miller, breeder Miller Show Calves. Second place, Brianna Hollingsworth, and she bred her own cow and come up with an excellent steer. Class number 8 will be entering the ring shortly. These steers will range from 1,392 pounds to 1,417 pounds. Our biggest class of the evening, too, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now entering is Ella Berry, breeder Ella Berry. Next we have Harper Anderson, breeder Dale Anderson. Brinley Farthing, breeder Brinley Farthing. Braden Jacobson, breeder Circle J Cattle Company. Cage Reisdorfer, breeder Ferguson Ranch. We have Asher Defoe, breeder Jay Berry, and Adrian De La Cruz Cattle Company. Oh, Duella Cruz Cattle Company. Duella Cattle Company, there we go. Again, 1392 to 1417 as far as weight.
Class 9, if you can be coming to the holding area, we'll have Tana Defoe, Brindley Farling, Braden Vetter, Luke Rico, Hannah Defoe, and Owen Green.
Nice pair of steers here on the top end of this class. The calf that wins, he's more appropriate here in the lay to his shoulder and his knee. A calf that's got more natural flexibility and comfort there built into his rear skeleton than the steer that's going to sit in second. He's got a good look here from the profile too. High tying, neat and alert in his look up front. Congratulations to that young man. Steer that's going to go and land here in second. Actually probably just a shot bolder there in terms of his body type. He is big and expressive in terms of the muscularity that he's working down the top side of his skeleton. For me, young man, we need to rock him back in the angle to his shoulder. We need to set him back in his knee. I got to see him go just a shot freer in the way that he utilizes his hind leg before the conversation becomes closer, but a very powerful type of a calf. Smooth made and extremely practical bodied steer is going to go ahead and land here at 3. I thought he was more appropriate from a condition standpoint than the cattle that are going to land in 4 and 5 relative to the 2 cattle that precede him. Not as stout in terms of his structure, not as out there in terms of his look here from the profile. Done a very nice job feeding your market steer, and a very, very practical type of a calf that's going to go ahead and land here in 4. Moderate, chunky bodied, and really smooth in terms of his finish. For me, young man, we can almost dial him back and freshen him up ever so slightly in terms of his condition. More importantly, a calf that's just built shorter and rounder there in terms of his hip. It's the same story for the steer that's going to land in 5th. Practical, smooth finish type of a calf. He needs to be reconstructed there in terms of his top line balance. A calf that wants to duck his pin set ever so slightly. And then we've got a steer that's probably just trimmer in terms of his pattern than the 2 cattle that are going to go ahead and precede him from behind. He needs to be opened up in terms of his rib shape. A steer that just needs more substance and power all the way through. Same story for the calf that's going to go ahead and round out our class. Young lady's doing a very nice job with him. Again, another clean cutting steer. Needs more true punch there from behind. So good class. Congratulations to those exhibitors.
First place, class number 8, we have Braden Jacobson, breeder Circle J Cattle Company. Second place, Adrian De La Cruz, breeder Duella Cattle Company. And fixing to enter the ring is our last class of steers tonight, ranging from 1,431 pounds to 1,475 pounds. We have Hannah Defoe, breeder J. Berry. Brindley Farthing, breeder Brindley Farthing. Braden Vetter, breeder Braden Vetter. Luke Rico, breeder Ferguson Ranch. Hannah Defoe, breeder J. Berry. And Owen Green, breeder Child Land and Livestock.
Well, we've reached the end of our steer show here, and a really nice class winner that's going to go ahead and lead us off. And the young man steer, he needs just a little bit more jaw there, but he may be the best built one in terms of his hip and hind leg of anything that we've seen so far in the ring. Set big, wide, and stout there in terms of his pin set, yet so sound in terms of the way that he takes to the surface, gets out, and reaches there in motion. Young man does a really nice job getting him shown as well. The calf that's going to go ahead and sit in second, I thought he was more appropriate from a condition standpoint than the cattle that are going to land in 3 and 4. A very practical body, deep body type of a calf that's very smooth in terms of his finish. He doesn't offer just the same kind of substance in terms of his bone work. He doesn't offer just the same kind of look up front as the steer that's going to go ahead and precede him, but respect his practicality, a good deal. A pair of Hereford steers shown by a pair of siblings that are doing a really nice job. And with that, the young man steer that's going to go ahead and sit in third, he is a moderate, thick-made calf, like I just got done talking about, just a little bit plainer there in terms of his look up front. Steer that wants to duck his pin set ever so slightly. Same story for the calf that's going to go ahead and land here in 4, young lady from behind the cattle. It's a bold-bodied, thick-made type of a steer. For me here from the side, a little bit thicker in the way that he's constructed up front. A calf that we could set back there in terms of his front structure, but you've done a great job for your first time in the show ring. Steer that's going to go ahead and land here in 5, very deep-bodied, practical, and smooth in terms of his appearance. We need to give that calf just more shape and turn directly out of his shoulder. He needs to be opened up in terms of his pin set, amped up, and the shape there to his quarter from directly behind. Same story as the calf that's going to land here and round out our class. Young lady's done a nice job with a very flexible, sound-made type of a steer. He needs to be bigger in his shape out of his shoulder. He's got to be bigger in terms of his pin set and his quarter shape. Good job to all those exhibitors, and a nice way to go ahead and wrap up our last class.
All right, our Class 9 winner, breeder Braden Vetter. Second place, Owen Green, breeder Child, Land, and Livestock.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get our first and second place exhibitors lined up for the final drive. So we need out of Class 1, Tatum Thompson and Jackson Osterman. Out of Class 2, Gavin Broda, Adrian Del Cruz. Class 3, Dawson Sedman, KJ Miller. Class 4, Riley West, Gavin Broda. Class 5, Riley Vetter, Trigg Sedman. Class 6, KJ Miller and Brant Jacobson. Class 7, Hunter Miller, Brianna Hollingsworth. Class 8, Braden Jacobson, Adrian Del Cruz. Class 9, Braden Vetter and Owen Green. And at this time, I'm going to turn the mic over for a moment.
Hey, I'm going to take this time to think about a little bit of the supporters we've had for this county fair. I'd like to start off by thanking the 2 people that have put a lot of work in on this, not only yesterday, today, last week, all year long. Our 2 superintendents, sometimes they don't get all the credit they deserve for all the hard work. Lindsay Hollingsworth, Brian Jacobson. Give me a round of applause. They put a lot of work in. Now while we're talking about all that work, it gives me a great honor to stand up here in front of you to honor my late friend, Jim Miller. He's the kind of man that put work in to this county fair for the last 3.5 to 4 generations. We want to start talking about a few things that great man did for us. Whenever he was a fair board member, no matter what committee he was on, his thought was, what we are doing is good for the kids? If it was, Jim Miller was in. Jim Miller was in for the kids. He's been here a lot of years. And some of you young people don't know this, haven't been around here that long a time, but Don and I have been around a long time when we understand what Jim Miller's done for this county fair, especially the beef show. He was instrumental in starting the born and raised, but we called it bred and fed, but it's born and raised now. Jim Miller was instrumental, one of the main architects of that. Jim Miller helped bring the Jackpot Heifer Show to the Laramie County Fair. Jim Miller was an architect to bringing in the add-on for the sale, and that add-on is very, very important now for a lot of these junior kids. Supreme Cow. Jim Miller was back there when he decided that was good for the beef industry. These are things that Jim Miller helped us throughout all the years, and he was a true supporter of 4-H FFA. Jim Miller was a true supporter of kids, 4-H kids. We're going to try to, through the families of Justin Joni, KJ Hunter, Brandy, are going to try to put together an endowment through Jim's name, through the State FFA Foundation. There's some of these sheets around. It's got this scan code that you can scan. You can write checks. You can use your credit card. The thought is, Jim Miller always gave the kids, we want to make sure the next 2 or 3 generations have some of that support. Remember that great icon, that great kingpin of the beef industry for the county fair here. And it really is. So you can make checks. We're going to try to give the buckles away next year for the Born and Raised show through Jim's deal. The more we get, the more we play, the more kids win. So if you can, talk to somebody here. Mr. Steve Mack is going to handle that through the University of Wyoming and the Wyoming State 4-H Foundation. He's going to handle all that for us, and it should be a great deal. And like I say, Jim says when the kid wins, he wins. The kids are going to win through Jim Miller for the years to come. So if you got any questions, if you can, give some money to this foundation in Jim's name. Make your checks payable. If you got any questions, come talk to some of us. We'll help you because it's all about the kids. What an honor to be able to stand up here for that man. Thank you very much. There we go. There we go. We've been sitting for a long time. Let's stand up and clap one more time. Stand up and clap. Get the blood flowing. My good friend, Jim Miller.
Bruce, very well done, very well said, my friend. Now, entering the ring, we'll have the first and second place pairings from each class. Class 1, we should have Tatum Thompson, Breeder T4, and Jackson Osterman, Breeder Schmidt Club Calves. Class 2, Gavin Broda, Breeder Brian Jacobson. Who? Oh, just first coming in, is what I was told. So we have Dawson Sedman from B3 Livestock. We have Riley West from Miller Show Calves. We have Riley Vetter, Breeder Riley Vetter. Kennedy Miller, Breeder Miller Show Calves. Hunter Miller, Breeder Miller Show Calves. Braden Jacobson, Breeder Circle J Cattle Company. And Braden Vetter, Breeder Braden Vetter. So these are our first place winners. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, give you a round of applause to our judge tonight, Lexi Hunt. Tremendous job she's doing.
I've really enjoyed the opportunity to get to spend the afternoon with you here, sorting through your particular show here. And like I said, to see this kind of numbers that have been raised within this county, and exhibitors have taken the opportunity. And I heard as they were getting announced, a lot of them, had bred them themselves, and that's commendable. And I encourage you guys, and I hope you continue to keep that up, and you keep doing it yourself, and you keep supporting the people within your county and that are local, because you got something really good going here. And it sounds like that Mr. Jim Miller, and one of the founders here of that he has really just set the tone for this. And I hope that he is smiling down and looking at what he did for your young people and the opportunity that they have here, and what you guys are doing for him and in his name. So with that being said, I won't take any more of your time here this afternoon. A pretty clear-cut winner in my mind, and then we're going to drop in your second and get you a reserve here. But if we could, please, let's give all of our exhibitors here within our show this afternoon a big round of applause. Can we get the second place out of Class 5? Trigg Sedman.
Champion, Laramie County, born and raised, Riley Vetter, and she bred that steer herself. Reserve champion, Dawson Sedman.